Hello, everybody. Welcome to Womenlines show. Womenlines is dedicated to bringing you inspiration and motivation through the remarkable stories of our guests. Today, we have a special interview lined up that promises to ignite your drive to achieve your dreams. Our guest's journey is one of the resilience and determination to achieve your dreams. Our guest's journey is amazing, and we are confident it will leave you feeling empowered. Make sure you watch until the end, friends. You won't want to miss the surprising reveal of her age. It is such an honor to welcome Dr. Helene Z. Hill, Professor Emerita, Rutgers University. Dr. Hill has been a professor in the Department of Radiology of Rutgers, New Jersey Medical School since 2013. She has taught courses in ethics and humanism and professionalism, as well as in medical interviewing. A skilled biologist and consultant, Dr. Hill spent 32 years as a professor of radiology at the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey prior to joining Rutgers. Dr. Hill was a recipient of a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Baldwin School Brandmore, PA in 1991, as well as the Smith College Medal in 1997. She has received several grants over the years as well. Her many accomplishments were taken into consideration when she was chosen to be featured in the 4th and 8th editions of Who is Who in Medicine and Healthcare. She has now written a memoir that is about her experience standing up for underpaid, underpromoted, and generally disrespected women, and it also details her time standing up against corruption. Welcome, Dr. Hill, to Womenline Show. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It's very exciting to be here.
Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Hill. So, yes, we are excited to hear about your memoir. Please share details.
I'm sorry, I have to tell you I have a hearing problem. So
No
could you?
worries. I want to know about the book which you have written, the memoir you have mentioned in the email that you want to share with us.
Oh, well, I have written one book that's already published. It's called Hidden Data,
Okay.
and in it I discuss papers that were written that contain data that when the data is analyzed statistically, the statistics are way off compared to experiments that were done by other people using the same instruments and so forth, where the probability that their statistics were okay was just fine. That's called Hidden Data, and
Okay.
it's available on Amazon.
Okay.
And now I'm writing a memoir. It's
Yes.
called The Crying Window, and it's really about my whole life as
Wow.
from the time I was born until today, where I am 95 years old. I
Awesome
don't
to
know why
know
I
that.
got to live so long, but I sure did.
Be blessed. We are so excited to have you, Dr. Hills. You have to share so many things with this generation. So nice to know that you have written this book, and we will be looking forward to get that book. We will be sharing about this when that book will be out. So do check out, friends. So, Dr. Hill, you were one of the first female scientists in the field dominated by men. Can you tell us about the challenges you faced entering and succeeding in a scientific career during that era? How you came over those obstacles?
Well, I think I was very naive. When I was growing up, I went to all girls schools, and I was very fortunate that way, and so I never had run into any problems during my education. And it wasn't until I was out in the world and starting to work. My husband is a physician, and he wanted to be in academic medicine. And so, although that would not have been my original choice, we decided that I would also apply for jobs in academic medicine. And the first job that I had was a postdoctoral fellowship at the Harvard Medical School, and things went very well, except that the fellow that I was working with didn't believe my data.
Okay.
I think it was because he thought that I was a woman, and he didn't really didn't think that women could do anything right. And as a result of that, he kind of put aside the results of the study that I was doing, which were showing that in rat liver, we were studying liver enzymes and so forth in rats, that in rat liver, when a protein, after a protein was synthesized, it had to leave the liver cells and go into circulation. And what my results showed was that in order to leave the liver cells and go into circulation, the protein had to be cut. The protein was albumin,
Okay.
very common protein in blood, and it started larger in the liver and then was clipped when it went out into circulation. And he didn't believe that. So unfortunately, we wrote a paper about it and we didn't emphasize that. And so somebody else was the one that was able to discover that. That was kind of the beginning.
Oh,
I didn't realize at that time that I was really being discriminated against, but that was the start of it.
that was started with.
And then we
Must
moved
be
to,
tough. Must be tough, definitely, to accept it and to face it. How did you navigated the challenges of being looked down? I mean, intellectually.
how did I what?
How did
Could,
you
could you,
navigated the challenges of being looked down when things were not accepted, what you have discovered, and there were challenges like people are not believing you? How you navigated those challenges?
well, I was really very naive and I didn't really recognize that I was being put down until it became pretty obvious. And that was at the University of Colorado. I was interviewed by the local newspaper,
Okay.
the Denver Post, as a
Okay.
woman in science, and I had not paid any attention to other women at the medical school, how many there were, or anything like that, until after that interview. And then I was given access to the personnel action forms in the dean's office. Why they did that, I don't know, but anyway, they did. And so another woman and I made a study of the women at the medical school, and we discovered that there were very few of them, and most of them did not have tenure and were stuck in lower grade jobs and so forth. And so I sent a memo to the dean,
Mm-hmm.
um, and thinking that those men,
There is.
his committee was all men, and naively thinking, oh, when they realize that, they'll fix it and they'll take care of the women and they'll increase their salaries and promote them and
Wow.
so forth. No way. I was called into my chairman's office and he said, "You're not going to get tenure. You have to leave." So that was the beginning.
Okay, I mean, there must be some experience. I can say that. What were the challenges in balancing the family and the work in those days? You want to share some
You
experience?
know, that is the really hard part because there wasn't a lot of help with family. When we moved to Colorado, we lived in a house that had an apartment on the side. And so we allowed people to live in the apartment, mostly people from other countries, to live in the apartment. And
Mhm.
the deal was that they could have the apartment for nothing if they would help with the children. And they did that, and actually that worked very well. We had some amazing people from other places, and that was good. But
Fantastic.
it's hard on the children, I think. Back in those days, hard to get babysitters, uh,
Raise
hard to make sure that
balance
things
the
were right for
family.
your children. So there was always that dichotomy. I didn't dare miss any time at work because I was afraid I would be, um,
Behind.
looked down on by my boss and so forth. So that was a struggle.
Okay, I really want to know what you are looking forward through your memoir. What do you hope to achieve? What younger generation can get from your book? The experiences, some insights you want to share?
Well, my last job, and I was there for 36 years at the New Jersey Medical School, I experienced fraud, and another fellow, postdoctoral fellow that I was actually working with, I believed that he was fabricating data, and I reported it to his. He didn't work for me; he worked for my colleague, and I reported it to my colleague, and my colleague refused to believe me, and I brought it up to the committee in the medical school that was responsible for scientific fraud, and presented it to them, and they didn't believe me. And so it went downhill from there. And I just kept at it. And I actually experienced 3 separate meetings of that committee as time wore on. Basically the medical school and the authorities were against me. In fact, the dean of the medical school threatened to fire me because I was persisting in saying this guy's been cheating. This guy has been making up data. And so I brought a lawsuit. It's called a qui tam, which means that I represent the experiments were funded by the National Institutes of Health. And so that's the government, basically. And what qui tam says is that I represent the government in saying that fraud has occurred. And so it finally came to the point where I brought a case against the university called a qui tam, and it took a number of years before it was finally resolved, and I lost. Every step of the way with this particular falsification of data, I continued to lose. So that's basically why I'm writing the book, because I think it's important for people to understand science must be truthful. It must be truthful. We're dealing with people's health, we're dealing with people's beliefs and so forth. And so we have to make science true. And if we're going to, and I think that one of the points that I want to make is that in our country, the system is wrong, because you file grant applications to the National Institutes of Health, and the probability that you're going to get your grant funded is really pretty small. I don't know how much it is now, but back in the days when I was filing grant applications, the opportunity of getting a grant was like one chance in maybe 15 or something like that. So I think that's wrong. I think everybody should have at least some money to do some research so that they don't have to scrape and bow and so forth. So that's really my goal, is to tell my story so that it will improve the system.
Hats off to you, dear Dr. Hill. It needs real courage to speak against the system, to get the truth out, and to work for it. I'm pretty sure that journey must be really tough, and you must have faced so many challenges. But really, you took it and you have done it, and then you are sharing it. It means a lot, so much to learn from you, that we have to stand for the truth. We should be supporting what is truth, and that should be winning part. Well, your experience spans through so many prestigious institutions, University of Colorado, Harvard, Rutgers, which shaped your perspective on the treatment of and promotion of women in science. What do you think about it? How it happened? How did your time at such places was there, and what you experienced regarding the promotion and the treatment of women?
Well, I started out many years ago. My first academic job was in the when was it? In the 1960s.
Okay.
And in those days, there weren't very many women. They were definitely kept in lower echelons of academia and so forth. But gradually, things began to change. At the University of Colorado, when I reported my findings to the dean. There were about 16 academic departments in the medical school, and only about half of them had a woman, one woman.
Okay.
The rest of them had no women at all. There actually, the Department of Pediatrics and the Department of Psychiatry had more than one woman. So those were the only decent departments in the medical school.
Oh,
And now, and also the medical students, there were very few women in medical school. And, as things have worn on, it's so much better now. There are, in many medical schools, I think there are more women than there are men.
things have
Um,
changed.
and also the faculty has gotten far more balanced than it was. But I think there are still men. Certainly, when I was filing my case about the fraud that I had experienced, I think that they were looking down on me, and probably a lot of that was because I was a woman. I was just a fussy woman, she's just making just trying to rock the boat, that sort of
Must be a
thing.
journey, must be so challenging, but you faced it and it's so inspirational that you never backed out and then you have done it. You are bringing the story out and you want to share with the world, like we have to support the truth. Reflecting on your long and successful career, what you are most proud of achieving, Dr. Hill?
What am I most proud of? Well, you asked me that question when I was writing things to you. The study that I did for my PhD thesis, it's the papers that I wrote as a result of that. Nobody reads them. But I was so incredibly lucky. I was divorced, and I married my husband, and he had to do his service, and
Okay.
his service was in the public health service. And we
Mhm.
went to the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland for 2 years, in 1961 to 1963. And I was still in the middle of doing my research. And the chairman of his department, who was a man,
Okay.
um, and this is a clinical department, so he gave me lab space. I was studying the alga called euglena. It's a green alga,
Yeah.
and it can lose its chloroplast where the green is. Um, but then if you treat them with ultraviolet light, it loses the chloroplast. But if you follow the ultraviolet light with visible light, it doesn't lose them. So it's really, really very interesting. But I needed a light box so that I could irradiate my euglena. I needed a light stand so that I could grow the cells in like tissue culture and so forth. And his boss set me up, even though he didn't. I don't think he knew what an alga was from a mosquito, but he just did all this for me. And then another incredibly fortunate thing was that I could see from my results that there was mathematics behind the results that I was getting, and I didn't really understand the mathematics. But just down the hall from where I was working, there was a statistician, and somebody told me that, and I went and knocked on his door, and from that started a collaboration, so that he could translate what I was doing in the laboratory into a mathematical model to explain the results that I was getting. So, it was just amazing that I was so incredibly lucky for those 2 years that we were at the NIH. I also we had our first daughter,
Okay.
who was born at the Navy Hospital. It was the Navy Hospital at that time, and so it was just a wonderful 2 years.
Beautiful. So nice
So
to
some men were very good to me, but not
good
all.
memories for you then. Fantastic share, Dr. Hill. We will love to have some message from you for our women audience, which is a global audience. Please share some message for them.
A message
For women.
for women.
Yeah.
Well, times now are different, but I know that many women still feel that they are being treated not quite as equal as men. And I think you just have to keep on working and trying and demonstrating that you're just as good as everybody else, because we are, or we're better. Because
Fantastic.
we have to put up with so much.
Right. Beautiful message, Dr. Hill. Thank you so much. Yes, friends. So here we are having 95 years old Dr. Hill, full of enthusiasm and full of life, and such a strong message for all women there. Keep going, keep rocking. We have thing in it which we can explore, and we have that power to explore our dreams, to go towards our dream. Thank you so much, Dr. Hill, for giving us time. Wish you all the best with your memoir. We will be sharing the link when it is out. Take care. Best wishes.
Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.